Yeah, so Pinot for us is one of the biggest varietals we make here at Flat Rock, but it's also, you have to have a bit of nerve to grow Pinot in any location, to be quite honest. I mean, they don't call it the heartbreak grape for nothing. It's a wine that's, because it's so thin-skinned, it is make wines that are very light, low in tannin. It also means it's difficult to grow. And so typically those people who are invested in making Pinot Noir, they typically farm it themselves as opposed to working with a network of growers, because they want to have control over that growing season with Pinot Noir specifically. Pinot is very sensitive to yield adjustments in the vineyard, so typically people tend to grow less to make a wine that is a bit more concentrated, has a bit more impact, because it is naturally a very light styled wine. So that's another reason why we grow it ourselves typically, is because you would have to grow it at a cost that would be too much based on the yields you're actually getting. So Pinot, I would say, if you're really into Pinot and you want to make Pinot Noir from Niagara or Ontario or Prince Edward County, where have you, it's something where you have to almost do less with Pinot. You have to get out of the way a bit more than you do with some of the other wines that we make. So with Pinot, you can make some decisions based on stem use in the fermentation, or no stem use, or crushing, or whole berries. So there's some very detailed fermentation decisions you can make to express a certain style of Pinot. And then obviously a big one is just the oak interplay with the Pinot. And if you're using a lot of oak, sometimes that overshadows the delicate nature of the Pinot wines. And so winemakers are continually working with that based on the season. So some seasons will have very warm growing conditions, will have very small grapes, so they tend to be a bit more concentrated. So you can probably take a little bit more oak in those wines. And then we'll have seasons where the berries are a little bit bigger, so a little bit less skin to juice ratio, and those wines tend to be a bit naturally lighter, a little less tannin, and so you don't want to overshadow that with too much oak, so we want to kind of showcase the terroir in those seasons and not use too much oak. But Pinot is really a wine that I think in the region and in Ontario in general, we make a bright cherry styled Pinot. They're very different than some of the warmer climate Pinots that you see, whether it's in South America or California. We tend to make a wine that is more similar to the homeland of Pinot, which is Burgundy, and it tends to be a wine that shows freshness and vibrancy, and usually there's a great acid backbone. And Pinot to me is probably the most interesting wine we grow in the region, because it's extremely expressive, and it's actually the hardest one to make because it's hard to do less a lot of the time. You want to get involved in the wine, but Pinot actually wants you to kind of just stay away and just let it go through its natural course and not over oak it and express the terroir of where it was grown.